The pizza, I ordered it.
Oh, yeah. What'd you get, pepperoni?
Yeah, I just got pepperoni because it's, it's the safest.
Who would be mad about pepperoni?
Right, exactly.
Do you like pineapple on your pizza, though?
Yes.
I love it. But you're not like one of those that's it's not pizza.
No, not at all. I don't prefer it, but I'm not offended by it either. Pineapple on pizza is fine. We just ordered a pizza, Airheads.
One of my favorite.
Eat it after we get done talking to y'all.
Yeah, one of my favorite pizzas is pepperoni, black olives, and pineapple. Okay. I think it's fire. Because too many people they're like, oh, pineapple goes on Canadian bacon and pineapple. And it's like, sure, but you can also just ask for it on anything else. So with pineapple, pepperoni, black olives, oh my God, bro. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, pizza does hit.
What's this place you're getting? Shout them out.
It's called Fernanda's New York Pizza. You fuck with them because
every time I hear.
Yeah.
Listen, do a little shout out to them in your camera. Maybe they'll sponsor us.
Yeah, that's true.
Fernanda's New York Pizza somewhere in the general Burbank area. I don't know because I always order it delivery, but y'all hit real hard because
their meatballs are unbelievable.
It's floppy, greasy New York style pizza. Which where you at on that?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite too.
Now, granted, I also love super crispy pizzas, and sometimes they get both right. And here's how you get both right: if you've got a big slice and you cook it extra crispy, but the fact that it's a big slice, the cheese will then weigh it down. So when you fold it, it will still be floppy. There is a way to get it floppy and crispy at the same time, and New York does that so well. We've talked on this show about how I think Detroit style is probably the most underrated pizza that there is. But in my opinion, I mean, like living in New York, having a pizza that you can walk around with, that big flop, the grease, like all these fucking people that go around, they're like, well, let's blot all the extra grease off. I'm like, oh, so you want a flavor napkin just floating around there? Because the grease is exactly what's up. Dude, I'm for it. It's the best type of pizza.
Okay, you're hitting for me real hard. We're going to have to stop talking about pizza because
you're getting hungry.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, right.
I'm hungry already, and it's bad news.
Sorry.
So Happy New Year, everybody. It's not
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I just about knocked my tea glass over.
It's not quite New Year's, as you know, as you're watching this or listening, but it's almost New Year's, and we're here with Reginald Fitzgerald Pumpernickel the third.
Otherwise known as Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie Squirrel right here. I'm Trae, that's Corey. This is Puttin On Airs. We're in Airstream Studios, ready to ring in 2023. How you feeling about 2023, Cho?
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good. Just because
but
that's
do you think
a number.
You're feeling, I feel like I may be feeling better about 2023 than I felt about 2022 going into it, maybe.
Well, I always feel better about the new year.
You know, it's a positive trend, I guess.
We always
but
think...
like most of our years,
they don't hit. No, they don't hit.
Like all the recent years we've had have been pretty big letdowns. It's like, what is going on with this year? Why don't years hit anymore? I feel like years used to hit for people. I mean, you know, well, for white people at least. Most of the years
usually hit.
Most of the years for most of the people have generally not hit for all of history. Yeah,
here's where I'm at.
I guess it's just more of the same, really.
2023 sounds like such a science fiction year.
Right.
Like all the stories that were written that I really like from like the 70s and 80s, they always use the 2020s as like that's the future.
I had a bit about that for a while. It was like when we were in 2020, I was like,
this is the future.
When I was a kid, 2020 was like the future.
Yeah.
And what I thought the future would be like imagine going back in time and telling your 12-year-old self what 2020 was actually like compared to what you hoped it would be like at 12 because it was the future, and it's horrifically depressing. But you know, ain't no flying cars, ain't no robot butlers, ain't none of that shit.
And that's what I'm saying. Like every year that is a 2020 something year, I expect all the things that like Orwell said was going to happen, and it doesn't. But like from a personal standpoint, not to get like too emotional or whatever, but 2023 will be the year that I have my first child. I will be 30.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
I'll be 35, which is like...
This is going to be a good year.
35 is not old, but it is like a landmark age.
Dude, 35, I'm going to argue right now. 35 is actually the perfect age.
I mean, I kind of think so. It's like, I'm not elderly, but I'm not a young buck. Like 35, you kind of know what you're doing. I think it's the perfect age to have a kid, and that's why we've waited. But like 2023, I'm going to have a kid for the first time. I'm going to be 35 years old. I've got a lot of interesting film and just career prospects on the line. I'm excited about it. But I say that this has happened before where I was excited about a year and then a demon plague, scours the earth. So I don't know. But like for me, just in my personal life, I have to think 2023 it's possible it might be the literal best year of my life because I'm going to have a child.
We know it's fine. I've always found this humorous, and not to get too political, but I feel like to a whole lot of people, to at least about half the people, 2016 was nightmarish.
The worst year on earth.
And like, I almost feel bad saying it, but 2016 is objectively probably the greatest year of my life.
Right. Mine too, until now.
Right. Just because like that's the year my dreams came true.
Yeah, right. Mine too.
Like,
because I siphoned my dreams off of your dreams.
Right. It's wild feeling that way about a year. And then since then, every year going into it, I'm like, this could be the year. Well, and then at the end of that year, I'm like, this weren't the year. And so now it's like, well, we'll see.
I have a very similar feeling, but about the pandemic. Because like you popped in 2016 and I got to siphon my hits off of you in an otherwise terrible year. Everybody has like negative feelings about the pandemic, and they should, but the pandemic is actually when I individually popped. Like I learned how to make videos and like I started making a lot more money. So like when people talk about the pandemic, I always have to go, okay, it's just a silver lining thing here, but like those were some of the best years of my life because I got to stay at home. I got to be with my family. And I learned how to be an entertainer from my house. Like the buttercream dream is the greatest thing that's ever. You popping is the first great thing that's ever happened to me. The buttercream dream is the greatest thing that ever happened to me individually. And it was during a horrible time. So it stands to reason that, Trae, it's all shit.
Horrible times hit for us.
They do.
When things are bad for everybody on earth, me and you thrive.
Thrive. Absolutely crush.
Now, but where you at on New Year's Eve, though, specifically?
I've never
Taking all that out of it, where you at on New Year's Eve?
I've never been a huge fan.
Me neither. Never.
Here's
never been a big fan.
And it's not just that. I'm not a huge fan of holidays that's only purpose is for you to get drunk. Like Cinco de Mayo.
That's like most of them, really.
No, I know. Well, not Christmas.
Right.
And not Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And not
St. Patrick's Day.
July 4th,
I think.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
like,
Cinco de Mayo.
And nothing against the Mexicans, obviously. But like, as far as like, I don't like holidays that everybody's just like, we're doing this.
It's an excuse to get hammered.
It's an excuse to get hammered because like, even though I'm a dude that likes to drink, like especially in my older age, like I don't really like that anymore. Like, because people always, what's funny is that people always, for some reason, really do believe that one calendar day and the fact that the number on the end of the year being different is going to change everything. They're like, well, this will be a better year than the last year. And it's like, first off, I don't know if you know this, time is not linear. We only perceive it to be that way.
Right.
Things
There's really no difference between December 31st and January 1st.
Not any.
In any way
Not
at
any.
All, other than like what we put upon it.
It's not like the fact that because you hear a lot of people all the time, they're like, I just can't wait for this year to be over. And it's like
what you really think the next one's going to hit?
What is going to change in 24 hours?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. But no, I don't like it. I don't like I think for the past like 3 years, I've even like fallen asleep before the ball dropped. Like it's not a thing.
Me too.
It's not a thing that I care about.
Pretty much. I mean, my kids are about to be 10 and 11. And for most of the...
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, I mean, you know that.
I know, but I keep forgetting it. And then you tell me, because like in
my
mind, they're 5 and 6.
They are more than halfway to being adults.
Because I've known these kids.
Is fucking nuts.
I've known these kids from the time they were born.
Their whole life, yeah, right.
And so if they're 10 and 11, that means I've known you for 12 years.
Yeah.
And that don't hit for me.
No, it's
having known you for this long don't hit for me.
Why? That hits.
Because we're old. We're getting older.
Oh, well, yeah, that
part.
Right.
Like there's part of me that still feels like we just met and we're just now buddies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we were suckling babes when we first met, dog.
Man, we really were. I was especially.
We
soulmates.
Yeah, but But yeah, so my kids are about to be 10 and 11, and most of the New Year's since they've been born, I've been in bed before the ball drop.
Right.
But I was about to say, and I want to make sure and come back to New Year's resolutions in a minute because I want to talk about that too.
Great.
But New Year's Eve, like even before kids, even when I was like a real serious drinker and partier,
and you
know
were,
what I mean? Like,
and we were together.
Even back then, New Year's Eve didn't really hit for. Yes, I would still get drunk on New Year's Eve, but like
girls dress kind of slutty.
But I had this boss for a while when the bar I worked at when I met Katie, the guy that owned it. I remember he always used to say, Crawdaddies. Shout out Crawdaddies in Cookville. The guy that owns it, Drew. Shout out Drew. He used to always say, he was like, New Year's Eve's fucking amateur night, man. Like, especially
he also said Crawdaddies don't hit.
No. Drew, the owner of Crawdaddies.
Oh, I thought you meant Drew Morgan.
No. Drew, no. Fuck that.
Yeah. We will not talk about him on this podcast.
I just mean I'm not going to give him the time of day on saying Crawdaddies don't hit, because Crawdaddies does hit.
It does
anyway,
hit.
The guy that owned Crawdaddies, he used to always say like that New Year's Eve was amateur night because he was in like the service industry, owned a bar and shit, and he was like, that's when people are at their fucking worst. He's like, there's a million of them. They're all drunker than fuck. It's like a special night, so people want to have a special experience. They're all like more entitled than they usually are, and they're just all over the place. And it's like, if you try to go out and have a good time, everywhere's packed with other people. And there's an old saying, you're not stuck in traffic, you are traffic.
Right.
So it's like, if you're out there doing it, you're part of the problem, but like, it just don't really hit. I don't think. If you have a good house party with like just your like close friends, just your close friends, you got some hors d'oeuvres, people bake some shit, make it happen, whatever, and y'all watch the ball drop together, that can hit. But like trying to go out and do it real big on New Year's Eve, that's never been it.
But let me tell you, it only hits if New Year's Eve happens to fall on a Friday or Saturday. If New Year's Eve falls on a Tuesday, I don't want to come to your fucking house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now granted, me and you don't have the like regular 9 to 5 grind. We can kind of like make our own schedule, but like, I don't like, if it's a night that we were already supposed to be partying, like sure, whatever. But like, yeah, I don't like the excuses to get drunk, but I will tell you from, you're talking about Crawdaddies and how his experience was terrible for New Year's Eve because of the business that he owned. As a comedian, when I first started doing stand-up, New Year's Eve was actually rad.
Huge.
Well, it was rad.
But okay, I want to get into this. Is inside baseball a little bit because we're talking about the stand-up comedy version of New Year's Eve. But I've gotten the opposite impression from a whole lot of comics of like,
no, I'll get into
doing stand up on New Year's Eve, because a lot of clubs, they want to do a big New Year's Eve thing, they bring in a big headliner or whatever, and I've always kind of gotten the impression that like with most things New Year's Eve related, it's a little bit nightmarish.
Well, it is, but not from my position.
Drunk as fuck.
Not from my position, because when I first started doing it, when I first started working on New Year's Eve, I was the host of the comedy catch, and what would happen on New Year's Eve to me is Michael would bump me up to feature, because he's like, it's a big night, so we're going to let you have the feature spot, then we're going to bring in a different host, and we're going to have this headliner comedian. The pay was better, surprisingly. There was a lot. They were drunk. It was a nightmare, but to me, it was always this is a moment. Like, I would wear a jacket, like I would dress up for the occasion. And they always, at the comedy catch, they had a party afterwards in the grill where everybody was dancing, and I got laid every time because I had just gone on stage and crushed, and then some women would see me in there, and I was single, and they would want to get with me. But once I started getting like more acclimated with stand-up and better at it, I started realizing like, oh, this is a hell gig. There's a reason that he's letting me come do. And so now I don't work New Year's. And like, I think a lot of comedians say that like, that's the hallmark of when you make it, is if you don't have to work New Year's. Because most comedians would be like, no, you got to work New Year's because they pay you double. Right? But like all my comedian friends,
I think there's a lot of hitting comics that still do New Year's shows.
No, of course,
and they make a lot of money doing it.
Of course there are. But like, my thing was like, I'm not, once I make it, I'm never working New Year's again.
Right.
And a lot of my comedian friends up to like, hey, where you at on New Year's this year? And I'm like, I'm not working New Year's. And they're like, you don't want double the money? And I'm like, I don't need double the money.
Right. No,
and it's a nightmare and I'm not doing it.
That is the way in which we're, I guess, sort of privileged in the comedy world.
We are. We're very
we
privileged. We haven't worked New Year's in 7 years.
Yeah, right.
But like most of them have to. And I'm just like, no, my reward to myself is not having to work New Year's.
So going back to the New Year's resolutions, where are you at on those?
They're stupid.
Right.
They're the same.
I've always thought they were dumb. People ask me, what's your resolutions? And I'm always just like, listen, I know myself. I don't have any. You know why? Because I'm going to fucking break them.
Right.
And it's like, well, maybe you should be a better person with better discipline and self-control. But I'm like, no, I'm just not going to set those expectations on myself and roll with it that way. But yeah, I don't do them. I don't do them because I know I'm not going to stick with it.
Well, I just try to be better every day, regardless
right,
of what it is. Like, so on a micro level, the New Year's resolution is the same thing as when people, it's like Thursday and they're like, well, I'll start my diet on Monday.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, you have to look at that and go, think about what you're saying right now. Days of the week don't really matter. If you need to start eating healthier, you do it right now. Monday's not going to be any different. And what's going to happen is it's just an excuse that you've built in so that you don't have to do a thing that you know is going to be hard. You're going to get to Monday and you're not going to do it. And you go, well, you can't start a diet on Tuesday. I guess I'll start next week.
It's like that accidental paradox, the accidental hanging.
It exactly
never happens.
It never happens because if you don't do it on this day, it's like days of the week don't fucking matter. And if there's something about yourself that you don't like, start tomorrow. You're not going to get it done on New Year's. You're putting way too much pressure on yourself. And also what happens is people try to go way too quick, way too fast, way too hard, way too fast. They're like, I'm going to stop eating carbs and I'm going to go to the gym every day.
Right, yes.
It's like,
yep.
Dude, you need to do
that's not sustainable.
You gotta start small.
People set these unrealistic expectations for themselves because of how New Year's resolutions work. And you're right. It's like, no, it's a little bit of everything. Take it slower. You put all that shit on yourself. All you're going to do is let yourself down.
We're not all The Rock.
Right.
Like, we're not all The Rock. My sister, shout out to my sister, Kirby. Y'all know her from Little House of the Dragon podcast. Now, she's sort of an anomaly in this, but she recently was like, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. She's like, I've smoked cigarettes since I was 15. I've got a daughter. I don't want her to smell like cigarettes. I don't want to die early because of her. And I was like, that's awesome, Kirby. And then she also told me, she goes, and I need to lose 30 pounds by Christmas. And I go, Kirby, listen to me. I need you to pick one because those two buck up against each other.
Absolutely.
And you that's not sustainable.
You're trying real hard to smoke cigarettes, you're going to get a little fat.
Of course. And I was like, you're gonna fail. And
gotta put something in your mouth.
And right. And I was like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead. I'm just saying that like your health is important, but it's also important for you to like take it one step at a time so it's sustainable. Now, again, Kirby's an anomaly. She hasn't had a cigarette in 3 months and she's lost 30 pounds, which is insane. But like realistically, you should just go, I need to quit smoking cigarettes and don't worry about the weight. Right. But on New Year's fucking Eve, everybody's like, every single thing about my life, I'm going to fix in one fucking day. And it's like, no, you're not.
You're talking about us all not being The Rock. I feel the same way about The Rock. Like, The Rock is sort of like Jesus to me, right? As I assume it's to a lot of people.
He's way better than Jesus,
where
but
it's
go
like,
ahead.
He's like my own personal Jesus, the way most Christians are with Jesus, i.e., I look at The Rock and the way he lives and the example he sets, and I'm like, that's the way a person should be. I'm not going to do any of that.
Can't.
Ever.
But I should.
But it would be better if I did, which is how most Christians treat Jesus, I feel like.
But no, dude, New Year's resolutions, like, it's just like, listen, man, if there's something about you that you don't like, you should start working on it incrementally. And the ticking of 1 second of the clock isn't going to change any of that. Now, I'm never going to say, like, don't ever try to better yourself. Of course do. But like the fact that gym memberships go up 300,000% on January 1st is just a bunch of people fucking lying to themselves.
Right. Yeah. They sign up and then they don't show up, which that's what keeps gyms.
How they make their money.
That's what keeps gyms
afloat. The fat tax.
Dude.
That's what Christian Finnegan said.
Right. Yeah. It totally makes sense.
Being two dudes from the South, a requirement of ours is that we are able to play Skinnerd as loud as we want all the time. And on our big dog speakers, we can do that. And I know you're sitting there thinking like, well, I've got a speaker. I've got one of them Bluetooth speakers. Yeah, okay. But yours doesn't go up to 105 decibels. And when you do crank it up, it sounds crappy. It's not crystal clear, unlike the Scout from Big Dogs, our friends down there in Augusta, Georgia. Skew! Go Dogs. They deliver a huge, clear sound. They've got a long battery life. It's waterproof. It also charges other devices. I don't know of any other speaker that does that. 15 hours of playback. And the coolest thing about these is that you can pair two of them for that like enhanced stereo sound. So it's going to sound like you were right there when Marshall Tucker's up there. You know what I'm saying? It's wonderful. You can't get it with any other speakers at this quality and for this price. I'm telling you, the Big Dog Scout is now available at bigdogspeakers.com for $99, but you can get 20% off with the promo code POA. And for more information on the Big Dog Speakers, go to bigdogspeakers.com. But here's all the information you need to know. It sounds awesome. It's super clear. You can do stereo awesomeness with it. Listen to Seven Bridges Road by the Eagles. There are stars in the southern... Well, it sounds better on the speakers than when I'm doing it. But I'm telling you, get the Scout, bigdogspeakers.com. Promo code POA. You're going to get 20% off. We love y'all. Rock out, baby.
All right. What do you think the most iconic version of New Year's Eve is in pretty much everybody's mind?
Well,
it's a little bit of a trap question, I guess. But
A Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life.
No, that's a Christmas thing.
Yeah, but I thought they also did. They sing
the most iconic experience for New Year's Eve
singing
for most people.
Auld Lang-
Times Square,
singing
Times Square, the ball dropping.
But in A Wonderful Life, they also sing Auld Lang Syne. They sing Auld Lang Syne. Yeah, but you're right. Times Square, Auld Lang Syne. Yeah.
So yeah, Times Square.
Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to life? Should all acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne?
Why is most of the words in that regular and then
Some of
the main words is weird?
I don't know. I don't know what Auld Lang
What's
Syne
up with
means.
that?
Yeah, Germans.
It's like Gaelic or something.
It's gay. I'll tell you that much.
Well, anyway, but yeah.
It's Times Square, yeah.
Times
Dick
Square,
Clark.
Dick Clark, ball dropping. That is, at least for Americans, that is fucking New Year's Eve. That's
right.
The iconic New Year's Eve experience. How do you feel about that?
So I've seen so many.
Fucking kill me.
Okay.
Kill me.
So
I would pay you if someone was gonna force me to go to Times Square on New Year's Eve, I'd pay at least $10,000 to
not do
get out of it.
Yep.
I swear to
100%.
God.
So
fuck everything about that. But how do you feel?
Let me tell you how I feel about it, Trey, and I'll explain this going back to stand-up comedy. When I was in New York, this was around 2015, I think. Is that when you got in the Writers Workshop? It was 2015.
It was.
So,
you nailed it.
So thank you.
Well,
Trey.
yeah, because we went to New York at the same time.
Right, and it was fun. And so I got there, and of course I was trying to do stand-up there. I'd been doing stand-up for like 10 years at the point. I was like, I'm going to do it here. My first paid gig that I ever got in New York, and it was going to be $50, but like, that's a paid fucking gig in New York. You know, I'm excited about it. Now, I didn't know anything about how New York works, so they were like, here's the address to this place that you're going to do a show at. So I get on the subway, still early on. I'm kind of terrified of subways, mainly because I'm like, I'm going to forget, like, how does this go, you know? And I get off, and as soon as I walk up, I realize that the train stop that my show is on is Times Square. And mind you, this is not during New Year's Eve. This is just a regular day in Times Square.
I have also accidentally ended up in Times Square without meaning to. Yeah, right.
And again, this is not on the Super Bowl of Times Square. This is a regular day in Times Square. I walked up the subway station, and I swear to God, because you know how my anxiety is, and I've recently gotten help for it, but at the time it was like as bad as it's ever been. I almost, and it was just right across, all I had to do was cross the street to get to the place, and I almost texted the booker and was like, I can't do it. I swear to God, like in my brain, I was like, I'm getting right back on that train and I'm going back down, because like it was just like fat Spider-Man, skinny Spider-Man, Mexican Spider-Man, fucking black Tony Stark, like just like, which not that
there's anything wrong with that.
Any of those things, but like it's just chaos. It's just fucking chaos in Times Square. And because that was a Tuesday in May, I genuinely can't imagine what it's like on New Year's Eve. And I've seen so many things about people who are like, yeah, you just piss in bags.
Right. I was going to say. So
I'm like, fuck that.
So they cordon it all off. They're in like pens. They put up like partitions all in Times Square, and they call them pens. And it's like the most coveted pens are near the ball, and then it goes back towards the back. Obviously, the ball drops at midnight. People start showing up at 8, 9 in the morning that day. And once you get into the pen,
ain't even no game on.
Once you get into the pen, you can't leave. You can't leave and come back. And there's no bathroom.
Right.
And you're not allowed to drink there. I'm sure people do, I'm sure. But no, you're not, like, as far as the rules go.
So all them people are ostensibly sober.
Ostensibly sober. I'm sure they're mostly not. But at the same time, it's like if you can't actually access a bathroom, you can't be drinking.
Right.
But yeah, people bring bottles. They wear diapers and shit. They piss on themselves.
There's no reason for that.
To stay
There's
out
no reason
just
for that.
to see the ball drop. But they'll get there fucking 15 hours ahead of time and then stand there the whole 15 hours in one place without moving, without drinking, without hitting, without doing anything, with no access to a bathroom. And then you get surrounded by a million other people.
Right.
And it's like, why in God's name does anyone fucking do that?
The experience.
I don't understand
Just
it.
to say that
I don't
you
like
did
big
it.
crowds anyway.
No, me
but
either.
But also, by the way, it's fucking 30 degrees the whole time.
Or less.
And it's like they have concerts and they put on shows and shit, but they're like...
But you're sitting there teeth chattering just like,
also,
Mariah Carey.
The way they're set up, you're not... like
seeing it.
Right. Exactly. Like you're not... It's not actually hitting
and
for you.
And you're pissing on yourself.
So there's like... The only remotely hitting version of it that I'm aware of is a lot of the businesses and restaurants and stuff that are around there will let you spend money to get like a spot at a table. So it's like, I've heard people say, it's like, this is the only reason to ever spend a lot of money to go to Olive Garden, because there's a Times Square Olive Garden, and apparently for $400 a person, I guess, according to what I read, you can get a reservation at the Times Square Olive Garden, right, where there is a bathroom where you can drink.
I'm fine with that.
They'll, yeah, dude.
That sounds, because like
that
seeing it,
I can kind of get with.
I
a
get
little
wanting
bit,
to
but
see
just
it.
going there and standing the whole time,
it makes
it's
no
like,
sense.
I don't get it.
Because
I don't
again,
get it.
as I've said to you, I don't even want to participate in New Year's at my own home.
Right.
Like in the comfort of my own house, staying up till 12 o'clock on a fucking like Tuesday is the dumbest shit. Like I don't care. You know what? Yesterday I woke up and it was a different day. I bet you that if I just go to sleep and wake up, it'll be New Year's.
Right.
It makes no sense. Now, are you going to get into the dinner?
What, like at Olive Garden?
No. Like the only thing about New Year's that hits for me, it's my favorite meal of the year.
The black eyed peas and shit?
Black eyed peas, cream spinach, fucking my mama makes cornbread, there's mashed potatoes, there's macaroni and cheese.
That's New Year's Day though, right?
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
I'm saying like back in the day, I would get excited about hanging out with my friends from New
Y'all
Year's
do
Eve.
Hog's Jaw, or what do you do?
Mom,
Because Katie's family in Waynesboro,
there was no Hog's Jaw.
For Katie, Hog's Jaw is like, it's black eyed peas, greens, and Hog's Jaw, and it's like you got to have that. And I like Hog's Jaw.
No, I
Hog's
mean
Jaw
I like Hog's Jaw too, but it wasn't Hog's Jaw for us. I think Mom does like meatloaf or something. But like then there's all the other standards. But like
it's just like bacon. That's all it is.
The only reason that I ever liked New Year's Eve was because no meal hits harder than when you're hungover. So I always loved Mama's New Year's Day meal when I had been drinking the night before, and so I've just sort of associated.
I ain't really got a mama that much. So
yeah, right.
like,
I'm sorry.
So yeah, I ain't had that.
I forgot I can't bring up love and family without triggering.
Don't hit
you.
for me. It triggers me.
Yeah.
No, I just I just straight up my family, my whole. I literally didn't know that was a thing until I met Katie and got together with her.
And it's wonderful. It's a great
and
meal.
She informed me that was a thing.
Yeah,
but that's the truth. I didn't even know.
That's the only
so
part
it's
of
that. That's not like a special part of it for me. She makes me do it, and it don't not hit for me.
Yeah, because it's a great meal. But
Right.
that's the only part of any of the New Year's celebration that hits for me. Like, I don't even watch the ball. I used to stay home and I would at least put on Dick Clark's thing and like just kind of lay there and just like text or whatever. But like, I don't give a fuck. I would literally rather watch Daredevil a second time.
Well, that's clearly true because we keep referring to it as Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and he's been dead for probably 8 years, right?
Well, so is
10
Kid
years.
Craddock, but it's still Kid Craddock in the morning, baby.
Yeah, but it's it's Seacrest now, I think.
It is secret, but it's still Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve.
So moving on, we never said this up top, but I'm keeping. So when we get to Professor Cho, we're back to fuck your shit up with Stoner Cho. We told y'all 2 weeks ago we were going to keep talking about the Fermi Paradox. Then we skipped a week, but we are going to be back to it now.
That's the paradox.
You know what's funny is I don't think on last week's episode we explained any of that.
We didn't.
We just didn't. So we'll have to do that.
We'll do it in Clear in the Airs, which we've already done that.
And what's funny is we're saying right now we'll do that in Clear in the Airs, and I bet you we don't.
Which is the paradox.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna finish the Fermi talk later with Stoner Cho, but I'm keeping it on theme, talking about where fancy people and trash people overlap. Bubbly drinks, drinks that bubble. It's on theme because New Year's Eve, what do? You pop the bubbly, right? You got the bubbly,
That's
you got champagne and shit, right? So it seems on theme, and everybody knows rich people love bubbly shit, champagne, sparkling water, stuff like that. Trash people, Mountain Dew, soda pops, right? Coca-Cola, fucking.
I would say
massive.
Prosecco is in there too.
Massive, yeah. Prosecco's in there. So getting into bubbly drinks, you're super white. Like,
I mean, I am.
where you at on bubbly drinks?
I mean, I love them, dude. When I was a kid, like I long gave up soda because it was explained to me that was like, hey,
Soda
man,
make you fat.
it was like, hey man, you fat, you can give up this one thing, and I was like, well, I don't love that one thing enough to justify this 30 pounds.
That was the very first thing I ever did that was effective in trying to
work.
I was a fat kid, right, growing up, and when I was like a freshman in high school, I stopped drinking soda, right, and I lost weight, and that was the first time in my childhood I actually lost. That was the first thing that was effective, which makes all the sense in the world because it's, you know, every single one of them is 150 calories, and I was having a 6-pack a day or more. And they don't tell you that. But anyway, just bubbly shit in general hits for you.
Oh my God! I mean,
you do brunch, you do mimosas.
Now
you
that's
call
mainly
them
because of
mimosas.
mimosas.
That's how much they hit for you. Is you took ownership of it. That's mimosa.
You think this mimosa?
I call them mimosas.
That mimosa.
Yeah, he calls them mimosas.
So bubbly drink, so I gave up soda, but realistically, what I did was I just gave up the regular sugar-filled version. I definitely still kept drinking diet versions. Like Diet Dr. Pepper rules for me because, like, yeah, bubbly drinks are awesome. Again, I just don't want the one with all the sugar in it. Well, I do want the one with all the sugar in it, but it's not worth it to me. But like, dude, a good crisp fountain Diet Dr. Pepper will send my cock into my butt. If that makes sense.
Did you know that that's a uniquely human thing, and B, we don't really know
Birds
exactly
don't drink
what.
soda?
No, but scientists and shit have tried to give bubbly drinks to mice and shit, and they don't fuck with it.
Explode them.
They're like, that ain't it. That don't hit. Right, so it's just
so
humans.
Our stomachs can just handle it more.
People try. Why do we like bubbly drinks? And people don't really exactly know. Right, so there's this. First of all, you add carbon dioxide to water, that makes the bubbles, right? So
Right.
the carbon dioxide in the drink creates carbonic acid. Carbonic acid reacts to these enzymes we have on our taste buds, right? And that enzyme that makes bubbly drinks feel the way they feel to us, apparently mountain climbers and stuff, they'll take a drug that it's for altitude sickness, but another effect of the drug is it blocks that particular enzyme.
What?
And those people report that when that enzyme is blocked, bubbly drink like champagne tastes like
Gross.
dishwater.
Oh my God.
They say it's terrible. And that why would anybody ever drink it? It tastes like shit.
So like
When
a cilantro
when
type
that
thing?
enzyme is blocked, but when that enzyme isn't blocked, there's something about it. It creates this like acidic reaction in our
euphoric.
mouths, and it hits for people. But it's also like, if you look at it chemically, it should not hit, right?
Right.
It's like an acidic reaction that should be unpleasant, and so
Because it's sour.
it's sour,
a burst.
right? And so some people have compared it to like spicy foods. It's
Yeah.
like, why do spicy foods hit for us?
Oh.
And they think about bubbly drinks the same way. It's like, we like to be hurt,
Right.
sort of.
'Cause it does kinda
Because it's like,
sting.
people have postulated, they've posited, they've pontificated, right? That
They've done this about.
that they've done this about, that it's part of what makes us human. Like, it hurts, but in a way
Hurts
that
so good.
it hurts, but in a way that we know we're going to be fine, right? It's like, this
It's like
is
getting tickled.
this is painful, or eating real spicy wings or whatever. It's like, this is painful,
getting
it's
spanked.
damaging, but I'm not in any actual danger, right? And so there's
So it's,
also
it's kind of exciting. It's an exciting thing.
there's another element to it where, like, having bubbliness in a drink makes people perceive that drink as being colder than it actually is.
Really?
It adds an element of coldness, and if you ratchet up the actual coldness, it increases the pain, which I've
Right.
experienced. If you
Of
try
course.
to,
If you
try
chug
to
a
chug,
Mountain Dew-
if you try to chug an ice cold bubbly drink, it fucking hurts.
in a good
like
way.
like you almost can't do it.
Yeah, you burp
if
immediately.
it's cold enough. So it's like, it has an illusion of coldness, which is maybe what adds to the refreshing aspect. Do you know what I mean?
It also
Because-
feels dirtier. I know, like, drinking a carbonated water, like a seltzer or whatever, will hydrate you the exact same as drinking
That's true.
a regular thing of water. But it takes me longer. Like, a bottle of water I can chug, so I'm like, I get my water in. But like a seltzer, I'm like, ooh, this is like a whole thing. Like,
Right.
and you're right, it does have sort of like it's not, but it is a spice. Like, it's just like on the tip of your
it's
tongue.
almost spicy.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, which makes
So-
a hit.
But so the bubbly water, yes, you're right. It does hydrate you exactly the same amount that regular water does, right? But like you said, it's harder to drink though. And also, I'm wondering, like, maybe because it's harder to drink, also because it gives me gas or whatever. But like, if I'm like thirsty,
I went regular water.
I want regular water. I can't do. Matter of fact, I don't really fuck with sparkling water. Period. Because
I do. I like
because
it.
when I want water, I just want water.
Yeah.
Which is most of the time I want water. Other bubbly drinks, like what you're doing right there, bubbly alcohol drinks and stuff. Yeah, I'm down with the bubbly part. I get how bubbly hits, but it's universal. It's across socioeconomic spectrums, right? Fancy people. Like, I was so convinced that bubbly water, sparkling water, I was like, fancy people love that shit.
Right.
Right? And I tried to look it up, and all I found was other places saying, we all know how fancy people love sparkling water.
Right.
Like, I couldn't find
With
any,
no
like,
explanation
I couldn't
at
find any
all.
actual explanation or actual hard data
Well, it's
for
because
it.
it costs more, and there's another element to it. Like,
You go to-
anybody can get water.
So you go to like a nice restaurant, right? And you fancy, and they ask you, do you want water? Do you want sparkling or flat?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I hit.
Yeah, right. So I need sparkling. Yeah.
I don't want flat. Like
I want
a
shit
fucking
to
peasant.
sparkle.
Right. Yeah.
Me and you, I think, were together when we experienced that for the first time. we were with our buddy Rich Super, and we were at a dinner, and I've never been asked if you want sparkling or regular. Like, it was always just like, everywhere we go, like if you're at O'Charlie's, they just bring you a water. Like, you just get a water, and then it's like, do you want something aside water? And you're like, yeah. But like, they were like, hello, I'm your water giver. And they're like, do you want sparkling or do you want flat? And again, the name sparkling just seems like, well, that hits, so that's what I want.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, but it just seems like they love it. And then, of course, champagne, among the fanciest of drinks. We've talked about champagne in the past, but it's sparkling wine. It's sparkling wine that's made in that specific region of France.
The Champagne region.
Outside of that, it's just sparkling wine or it's Prosecco or whatever, but it's all the same thing. But it just, there's this thing that's like,
Black people love it.
If you make a drink bubble.
Am I wrong? Black people love it. Prosecco. They love it. That's what I've heard.
I mean, white people love it too, don't they?
They do.
I feel like white women fucking love Prosecco.
Oh, maybe
my
people.
Sister-in-law,
is that a place where it
my
overlaps?
sister-in-law, a very white woman, loves her some Prosecco.
Well,
but
maybe-
that's really,
maybe-
I think
met a black
Prosecco,
person
I
that
think like
has
white women
said
is
that
what
like
I
people.
think. But I'm not saying black
Might be
people
one of
don't
them
love,
things where just everybody likes.
It might be, yeah, it might reach across racial lines, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean that as a negative way.
Of course
I just
not.
know that I've always heard black women just be like, "I want some Prosecco."
I mean,
yeah,
I've tried it, and I feel like they would. Maybe they do.
yeah,
But I don't know. I'm not
it
aware
does
of
have
it.
that little sting at the tip of your tongue that I
Right. So you
fancy.
take a drink, you add bubbles to it, and all of a sudden it hits harder for people. But also, I feel like it's fancier all of a sudden.
It is. It's
Wine
100%.
that sparkles, that's fancier than just regular
Right.
flat ass wine. But that's weird because getting in the other part of it, like
They don't think that the
well,
wine
well,
people.
no, you have shit like Mountain Dew and stuff.
right? Not fancy
Which
at all.
is the very opposite. Like they add bubbles to all that trash juice, and it don't make anybody feel like it's fancy. So, like, what's the difference?
Okay.
What makes some shit feel fancy because it's bubbly, but other bubbly shit is like the trashiest
Okay.
concoction on planet Earth? Like, why?
Let's get into this though. You would think it's like you add bubbles to something that already hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've drank a flat Mountain Dew,
Don't hit.
don't hit.
Don't hit.
But the bubbles are the only thing that makes it hit.
I'm not going to sit here and say the bubbles are the only thing that
Well,
makes Mountain
sugar
Dew
be doing
hit.
it.
Right. Just the
But
sugar
if you
to
drink
do
a
it.
flat Mountain Dew, if you
That
take
don't
the
hit.
bubbles away, it don't hit.
That's true. That's true. But yet, if the bubbles was the only thing that hit, then bubbly water would hit just
harder
as
than
hard as Mountain Dew, which
right.
it don't.
No, it don't.
So, like, it's not just the bubbles that do it. But yes, you take Mountain Dew, you remove the bubbles, get that the fuck away from me.
It's very weird because it's like, to me, regular water hits harder than bubbly water, in my opinion. When I'm thirsty, I
Me
gotta
too.
have regular water.
100%.
Now I do. Now, if I'm just like, if I'm at a party or something and I don't want to drink, I would like a LaCroix because it somehow stimulates that. Like, the bubbles hit me. This is something other than water, so I like this. Mountain Dew flat don't hit. But then also, I had one time, and I'm so mad that I did. There was a carbonated sweet tea, and
I've never had that. I didn't know that was a thing.
and I thought to myself, well, okay, so
Tea hits.
tea hits,
Bubbles hit.
bubbles hit.
Right.
This must hit because, like, I looked at it as like, well, regular sweet tea is just like flat Mountain Dew. So then if you add bubbles to it, it must
It'll
hit
hit
harder. And I was
Didn't hit it
so
all.
offended.
Yeah.
I was like, this ain't or how this should, you know?
Do people bubbly up coffee?
I don't
Is
want
there
it.
bubbly coffee? I don't want it either. That's
I
what
bet
I'm saying.
there is, though.
That's
but
weird.
I don't
well,
want
that's
it.
weird that there's things that hit for like
Carbonated coffee.
Adding bubbles to shit seems to hit for people, but there's certain drinks that we've all just universally agreed
Milk,
on.
like milk. You
tacitly.
don't carbonate
Fuck
milk.
No.
Dude, you don't
Don't
want
really
fizzy
want
milk.
no bubbly,
And you know why?
bubbly milk.
I bet you there's a reason, though, that they don't do it is because the acids in there would curdle the milk. Like, it wouldn't be able to do it.
But I feel like even if you remove the chemistry
Wait.
from it, just the idea of bubbly milk, that ain't it.
No, that ain't it.
Bubbly tea, bubbly coffee, that ain't it.
Coffee soda. Look here. What is carbonated coffee? It's exactly what it sounds like. Sparkling coffee. It's a refreshing new way to enjoy coffee. The depth and flavor of cold brew combined with the effervescence, which is the perfect word to describe that, of sparkling water. No, I'm not for that. I don't like. Oh shit, I've had that.
Does it hit?
No.
Don't hit.
No, didn't hit.
You heard it here. Carbonated coffee. Don't
hit. No, I want flat coffee. I want it to taste like the beans. I want it to be bitter, but not.
What do you think is the trashiest bubbly drink?
Mountain Dew.
It's got to be. Famous. As far as famous,
Mountain Dew Code Red.
As far as famous ones, Mountain Dew Code Red, right? Probably
Miller High Life.
But like you put. Right, yeah. Then you got beer
because that's the champagne of beers.
Right, yeah. What about?
Which, by the way, that is.
But what about like Mountain Lightning and shit? Do you know what I mean?
Mountain Lightning, like
you take like the Walmart version of Mountain Dew, Bubba Coke. That's got to be trashier, right?
That's way.
Also, what
Mountain
about
Lightning.
Like Surge?
Oh, Surge is super trashy. Monster energy drinks.
Yeah,
that's a bubbly drink, and that is super. I think Monster Energy, it's funny because like Monster Energy drink and Red Bull are ostensibly the same thing, but because of their branding, like Red Bull has a very Richard Branson type brand about it. You know what I mean? Like we're on a sailboat. Monster Energy drink is just like we're about to fuck our sister.
Yeah, we're on a dirt bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's that, but like, you know, Miller High Life, the reason that they call it the champagne of beers is because they don't change anything about the taste. It's basically Miller Lite, but they add more carbonation to it. So it is more bubbly. So thus, it's the champagne of beers. But like, if we're talking about just stereotypically, I think that like Mountain Dew stands alone.
Right.
Like Mountain Dew is and it makes me mad because, like, everybody's just like, look at all these Mountain Dew drinking dum-dums down the South. But then when I go to make a joke, I always use Mountain Dew because it just works.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, it was literally made to be mixed with moonshine or whatever. And, yeah, I mean, it's Mountain Dew. I mean, it's hillbilly shit.
Mountain Dew is what they called moonshine.
Right, yeah, right.
So,
you ever hear that joke? What do you call the sweat between Dolly Parton's tits?
What do you call the sweat between Dolly Parton's tits? Hold on.
Is it Mountain Dew?
Is it Mountain Dew? It
is.
It
is Mountain Dew. Okay.
I'll tell you what, I'd pay $1,000 for it bottled.
So obviously, humans across the socioeconomic spectrum love bubbly drinks, and we don't entirely understand why, and it seems to be a somewhat uniquely human phenomenon, which I thought was interesting on the eve of the new year, when a lot of people are going to be popping bubbly drinks and going in.
And they do.
Having said that, I now would love to continue talking about fucking aliens.
Well, let's
not
do
about
it.
Not about fucking aliens.
Well, I
but
would.
Yeah, right. Just for the story, but just
I bet
about
aliens' pussies would be like super mushy. You know what I mean?
Mushy.
Yeah,
okay.
Like because they're all gray and kind of like wet looking.
Okay.
Don't you think that when you think of an alien, you think there's like, oh, they glisten. They're kind of wet looking. Like I bet they're. Wow.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
So right after this, we'll have Fuck Your Shit Up with Stoner Cho Part 2 on the Fermi Paradox in just a second.
We'll be right back. Everyone wants to save a little cash this time of year, and America's Best Value Meal Kit helps you do just that. We're talking about our friends over at Every Plate. They're 25% cheaper than grocery shopping, which means you can put the money you save towards gifts for friends or family or, you know, just yourself. These are crazy times. Treat yourself right. I know people think that meal kits have to be expensive, but I'm telling you, you get the same convenience and deliciousness at a much lower price with our friends over at Every Plate. They got super quality ingredients. They come pre-portioned. So not only do you save money, but you're not wasting a bunch of stuff. Like that bag of greens that you know you're like, I'm going to make a bunch of salads this week. And you don't. Babe, come here. Babe, come here. Come here. My wife wants to tell you about, hey, what we eat earlier from Every Plate? French onion chicken. It was awesome, and my wife made it. And do you normally cook?
Every now
Oh, hush, you don't. She doesn't cook. She's always like, I don't really know what to do. But she cooks all the time with every plate because they give you the ingredients and they give you the directions right there. It's so simple. Even me and my wife's country asses can do it. So cozy up to new seasonal dishes featuring the highest quality ingredients like Tuscan mushroom penne and broccoli and cheddar mac and cheese. Or, as she said, we just had the French onion chicken, and it was divine. All right, there's a lot of stuff going on this time of year, and you're tired from doing all the other stuff we had to do during the holiday season, so let Every Plate help you out. You ain't got to go to the grocery store and nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And again, it is so affordable, all right? So affordable, and I love it. We've been using Every Plate for several years now. It's just, we don't have to think about it. That's one of my favorite things. Just like every week, we're like, all right, we're having these things because we selected them. You know what I mean? And they're awesome. So if you just want to get your first box for $1.49 per meal, well, you can do that by going to everyplate.com and entering the code POA149. So get started with Every Plate for just $1.49 per meal on your first box by going to everyplate.com and entering the code POA149. That's everyplate.com, promo code POA149. All right? You can get a super sweet deal. It is an $110 value. I'm telling you, it's Professor Cho and Mrs. Cho approved. Absolutely wonderful. Do yourself a favor. Also, by the way, I don't think that this was a thing that they even told me to say, but I find that I've learned a lot about cooking by using these. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never known that lemon zest was something that should be in everything, but Every Plate has hooked me up. So there's kind of some free cooking lessons in there too. Check them out.
Are you feeling stuck making minimum payments on your credit card debt? SaveWithConrad.com can help, and you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Oh, and did I mention no house payments for 2 months? Get rid of your credit card debt and lower your monthly payments right now at SaveWithConrad.com.
We're back, Airheads. It's
Oh, are
time
we?
once again for Fuck Yo Shit Up with Stoner Cho. This is part 2 of the Fermi Paradox. Last time we talked about how, so the Fermi Paradox is there's all these goddamn stars and planets out there in the fucking sky, and we know about it, but yet nobody lives on them as far as we can tell. We've never seen any evidence of their existence. Why is that? In the first part, we talked about the idea that, well, we don't see them because they don't exist. How is it possible they don't exist? We talked about the Great Filter. They existed, but they're all dead. They haven't made it yet, whatever. We talked about all that. Now we're going to talk about the second possible explanation. They do exist, but there are reasons we are unaware of them and what those reasons might be.
That's true, Trae, and I'm reading from, it's called What's It Now? What's what now?
Wait, but why?
Wait, but why? All right, so here's what Group 2 is, and I cannot wait to get into this. Group 2 explanations get rid of any notion that we're rare or we're special or the first at anything. On the contrary, they believe in the mediocrity principle. I'm certain that you're familiar with this, whose starting point is that there is nothing unusual or rare about our galaxy or solar system or planet or level of intelligence until evidence proves otherwise. There's also much less quick to assume that the lack of evidence of higher intelligence brings evidence of their non-existence, emphasizing the fact that our search for signals stretches only about 100 light years away from us, which is 0.1% across the galaxy, and suggesting a number of possible explanations. And, well, here's a couple of them. So, possibility 1 that I would like to talk to you about. Super intelligent life could very well have already visited Earth, but before we were here. This is one of my favorite ones, right? Because it supposes,
it presupposes,
when we're talking about like the pyramids, right? And we're talking about what's the thing that we went and saw in Europe?
We saw a bunch of shit in Europe. Stonehenge.
Yeah, but so in the scheme of things, sentient humans have only been around for about 50,000 years with a little blip of time. If contact happened before then, it might have made some ducks flip out and run into the water, and that's it. But further, recorded history only goes back 5,500 years. A group of ancient hunter-gatherer tribes may have experienced some crazy alien shit, but they, just didn't have any good way to tell anybody about it, which to me would explain Jesus.
Okay. We talked last time about your buddy Big Ass John. It was 575 pounds having his theory about
that, like,
Jesus
all the gods
being an
were
alien.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that we'd already done that.
Just, it's hard for us to conceptualize, but we've only been around for a very short amount of time, going back to literally when we was in caves.
Right.
From caves to now is a sliver of Earth's history, let alone the galaxy's history. So it's very easy to imagine that aliens swoop by at some point, and we're just way before we were able to deal with or do anything about it, and then they fucked off because they're like, this place don't hit. It could have very easily happened. Yeah, because it's the time. It's like we talked about numbers and how they get up to some wild shit when they're together. Time be wild like that.
Right.
Like I read this thing. It was this book by Bill Bryson, A Short History of Nearly Everything. Right?
He's wonderful.
He's great, and it's a great book. And I think I fucked up the title a little bit, but it's something like that. And there's this analogy in it that I thought was incredible. It's like if you do a Jesus pose, right? I can't do it sitting here, but if you hold your arms out at T-posing to both ends, right, from the end of one middle fingertip to the other one, that's all of Earth's history. That's all of Earth's history from this finger to this finger, right? That's all of Earth's history. If you took a nail file and ran it over your middle fingernail one time, you would erase all of recorded human history.
Right.
Because that's how little we've actually been
impacted
here.
And done anything.
And so it's almost arrogant or whatever to assume that aliens ain't around because we haven't fucked with them, because there's so many other opportunities for them to have come by and done shit and whatever else, and we just would have no way of knowing.
It also, I don't know, think about Prince.
Prince, like the rock star Prince?
Yeah.
Okay. Think about Prince. What about Prince?
Why couldn't he be an alien? Or all these people that we cannot fathom how they have so much talent.
Okay.
It's what if they were just from another planet, literally?
That's another one of these possible explanations. I think this is about to upset you, but I'm feeling anal or whatever right now. Can I sort of take the driver's seat on this one a little bit? Is that okay with you?
Do you think that's going to upset me?
Yeah, I do. I do think that. Is that? But we're going to be okay.
Wait, you really think that would upset me?
Well, maybe a little bit.
No,
because I thought you might view it as a reflection upon how you're doing.
No,
which is not what I want to do.
No, I don't at all. Trey, listen.
Because one of the possible explanations.
I love talking to you about stuff. If you want to take the driver's seat, go ahead.
So one of the
do you want me to put this away?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay.
So one of the possible explanations is that aliens do exist. They're around us. We called it the Men in Black principle last time. But the idea that people like Prince or people like that, they are aliens. We're just unaware of it, right?
By the way, this is going to be a 3-parter.
Right.
Just letting everybody know.
I don't know. I think we can get through it.
No, we can't. There was so much more to scroll
Possibility
through.
One is that they came by, but we just weren't around for it because we've only been around for a minuscule amount of time. Possibility two, the galaxy has been colonized. There's all kinds of alien shit going on out there in the universe, but we live in the backwoods of the galaxy, the backwoods of the universe.
We're the rednecks of the whole fucking...
And so the analogy is if you think about it, the Inuit tribes in Alaska, right? Way, way up in Alaska. Right? They had no concept of what was going on with European colonization in the rest of America.
Right.
Shit was getting fucked up.
And
for
they
the
were
Native Americans.
They were just eating gefilte fish.
Right. European. Well, they're not Jewish, but yeah, they were eating seal.
You don't think that people that aren't Jews can eat gefilte fish?
They were eating seal butt and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, while all the other indigenous tribes in the contiguous U.S. part of the continent.
That's so
we're
wild
getting
to
fucked
think
up.
about.
Like their whole universe was getting upended
And
by
they had
European
no fucking
colonization.
clue.
But the Inuits in Alaska, they didn't know anything about it. They do now, but for a long time they had no clue. Right? It hadn't reached them. Maybe we are the Inuits of the universe. Like
Right.
we're in some backwater, some galactic backwater, right? And it just hasn't reached us yet or whatever.
And also we fail to realize that like how intelligent some of these people could be. Because like there's a lot of dudes that I know that are way fucking dumber than me, and I observe their life all the time, and they don't know that I'm observing their life and judging them and talking about how much they don't hit and thinking to myself, I'm not going over there and fucking with them. So, like,
In a
it
way.
could be that.
You're almost in a different dimension.
That's what I'm
in that
saying.
way.
It could be that in a completely different galaxy where, like, there's aliens that are looking down and just being like, can you believe this fucking bullshit? And they're like, I just ain't gonna fuck with it.
Well, sort of on a related note, another possible explanation is that we have this very human-centric idea of colonization in the first place. So basically the idea is like...
A British idea about it.
Right. The idea is like any other intelligent species or civilization, it doesn't necessarily follow that they would try to colonize everywhere.
Right.
They might be beyond that. They might be beyond the whole physical world. Like you might evolve to a point where you
They're just
upload yourself to the cloud, live in a fucking eternal cloud heaven or
Right.
whatever. And why would you fuck with the rest of the galaxy? Why
Right,
would
it
you
makes
fuck with
no
other
sense.
solar
Like,
systems?
why do we
It's
want to go down there?
It's not worth doing, right? So like
Right.
maybe that's how it works. And there's no like we think of advanced societies as being the way we were, where it's like we got to go find other shit, take all their shit, fucking kill them, give them smallpox and fuck their butts, right? But it's like you don't necessarily have to do that.
Right. It's a waste of
You
your
know
time.
what I mean? Right, exactly. Like they might be beyond thinking about it that way. And if they are, they wouldn't be fucking with us. They wouldn't be going out and being around anywhere. Like, you know, why would they do that?
Well, there's also that Louis used to have a bit about how he doesn't think that we're from here. Like, he doesn't believe that Earth is humans' natural habitat. And his reasoning for saying that is because of, like, sunburns and allergies and stuff like that. He's like, it just doesn't... It seems like our universe is rejecting us, and that doesn't seem like a thing that should be.
So that is another possible explanation, is that, like, we are the aliens. Like, we're an experiment. We're lab rats in a thing or whatever, but we are aliens. We're not indigenous to this planet. We were put here and we're being observed this whole time as we go through this whole experiment that we call life, which don't hit.
No,
right?
it does not hit.
Right, but it's like if some grander civilization set that up, like they would keep us from,
because that's the
finding
zookeeper.
out
That's
about-
the zookeeper part of it, right? That we're being observed.
That's kind of that's a analogous but separate idea that, like, what you're talking about right now is basically the like in Star Trek they have the Prime Directive.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like, do not interact with these species. You know,
Right.
it's the way we treat like endangered species.
fuck with Star
or certain
Trek?
A little bit, but not that much.
The Patrick Stewart years are amazing.
Yeah, I watched those when I was a kid, because
Yeah.
of course I did, but I haven't gone back and revisited them.
I'm
But,
a big episodic space dude. So like Doctor Who and Star Trek and all those, and they get into a lot of these bullshits.
But basically, so it's sort of two separate things. One idea is like, if we are the aliens, if we were put here and it's some sort of experiment, they would keep the experiment contained.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? They would protect.
We're behind glass.
We're behind glass. They would protect us from interacting with all the other species and civilizations out there because that would fuck their experiment up.
Right.
So, like, that would explain why we haven't seen it.
I'm so scared right now.
Yeah, well,
I'm so scared right now.
It gets scarier, all right, with these different explanations. But the other one you alluded to,
by the way, producer Russ, mark down that I need to do more Professor Cho topics where Trae's super interested so I don't have to work. Mark, just write that down because I am a huge fan of it.
Sorry, I'm just
no.
This is my shit.
Trae, do not be so.
Shit.
When I first decided I was going to do this and I messaged you, I was like, I think this will hit for Trae. It never once crossed my mind that I would be able to cross my arms and just be like,
"Can you just stop talking?
Yeah.
Can I just talk about this for a while?"
I feel like Corey loves being the color man.
Oh, I do. I am the color man. Like that's what I do. Like you do play by play. Let me fucking just interject. And so, this is great for me.
So, right, they're related. We're an experiment, so we're kept segregated from the rest of the universe by the people experimenting on us. But the other ancillary idea to that, you said like we're like in a zoo, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's like they're all aware of us, all these greater civilizations, they're aware of us down here, but they have it as part of their laws or their rules that like you don't interject.
It's like time travel. You can't
them.
Fuck with something because it'll screw everything up.
There's that tribe in India that we call the Sentinels, the Sentinelese. I don't know if we made that name up, but there's a primitive tribe on an island off the coast of India. I'm pretty
that nobody
sure.
Fucks with.
Yeah, you're not allowed to fuck with because if you go there, they'll kill you with spears.
Really?
But also it's like we have all agreed, don't fuck with them. Right?
Okay. North Sentinel Island. The North Sentinel is one of the Andaman Islands, an Indian archipelago, which archipelago, Trae, is
a bunch of little islands in a row together.
That's true. In the Bay of Bengal, which also includes the South Sentinel Island, it is home to the Sentinelese, an indigenous people in their voluntary isolation who have defended, often by force, their protected isolation from the outside world.
Right.
Holy fuck.
You don't know about these guys?
No.
Dude, they're completely removed.
So they don't
from
know
the modern
about Taylor
world.
Swift at all.
Well, they don't know about they don't know about Swiftie. No,
Michael
they don't know
Jackson.
They literally immediately kill anyone that comes to the island.
So
and
like,
they're just allowed to do that.
Well, they see planes flying overhead
and they're like,
shit
that
like
don't
that.
hit.
They have some idea of it, but they've completely removed themselves from the modern world. And yeah, like Russ said, if you try to go there with like cameras and shit, they will kill you.
But like,
and
how
yes,
are they allowed to do that?
Because that's their shit. That ain't our shit.
I understand that, but like,
I mean,
if somebody from Iran kills an American, we go over there and fuck with them.
That's part of the idea of this particular explanation of it. Is like, yeah, we could send a battleship over there with a whole battalion and be like, y'all can't be doing this. Fuck y'all.
Right.
We're gonna put you in jail and do whatever we want. But like we've all agreed, we're not gonna do that.
Why didn't the
Because
Vietnamese just be like, we're this? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, but
like you can just decide, hey, we are people to not be fucked with, and we're gonna keep throwing spears at people and don't fuck with us. Because like, why don't we all do that?
well, see, but that's what I'm saying. Like these different civilizations at this level, the rest of us have all sort of been like, we're not gonna fuck. We're not gonna interfere.
Right.
We're not
they
gonna
do
do
their
that.
thing.
They do their thing, and I'm saying so. The idea is maybe aliens treat humanity that way.
Wow.
They're like, we're not gonna interfere. Like we can observe.
Because why wouldn't we be primitive?
We
to
can
them?
observe, but it's against the galactic law
Right.
to interfere with us. And so, if that was the case, they would hide themselves and their presence from us because that's part of their laws, right? So, like, you know, I mean, I feel like that shit makes sense.
Do you think there's like an end game, like where like, or is one day we just gonna be chilling and like they're just gonna roll up and just be like, yo, we've been watching y'all for a while, and what y'all doing?
Yeah.
That ain't it.
Yeah. No, dude.
I'm fucking so scared right now.
No, that. There's people that have talked about that too. That it's like the idea that
because this is happening in
Well,
my
maybe-
brain. This is happening.
Well, maybe it's not them showing up. I mean, it could be. We could try to pull some shit. They show up and like, hey, we got to interfere. You can't do that. Fuck y'all. We're going to have to take over. Or like, there's a certain point a civilization reaches. Like if we actually figured
the great
out
filter.
If we actually figured out, no, I'm talking about a different thing now. If we somehow figured out light faster than light speed travel, if
Right.
someone cracked that tomorrow and it got publicized and then it was like, all right, we're about to colonize the universe. Like maybe at that point,
They'd be like,
they jump in and be like, okay, y'all are here now. Listen, here's the deal.
Yeah,
Here's
right.
the deal. You can't do that. You can't do that. Or you can do that, but here are all the laws. You are now part of the grander galactic
This is
community.
exactly what happened when
And-
rednecks started getting money.
Right.
It is. Rednecks started getting fucking everybody in the whole goddamn world was just like looking at rednecks, being like, look at them on their boats and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Look at them hanging out like nobody gives a fuck. And then some redneck was just like, I'm gonna buy an airport. And all the fucking intergalactic motherfuckers just like, oh, now, if you gonna do that, you in the real game with us. You know what I'm saying? So, like, fucking shit, man. Like, how...
Here's an interesting question. You know, what if aliens are not a monolith, just like people? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's all different kinds of aliens. Some of them will kill us. Some of them won't. They're at war. Maybe some of them want to attack us, and other ones are like,
well, I think
stopping them from doing it.
I think the
Shit
most
like that, right?
recent, the most recent possibilities we just talked about. I think in those scenarios, with what you're saying, you have to assume that we have some kind of protect. There's like a large species
A
that sort of
shield?
runs the shit
Right.
that like defends
Like in...
civilizations like ours
in the
against
MCU, like
the
the time the time people or whatever.
right. They sort of run shit, yeah, and and maybe there are other species that are adversarial, but they deal with them and keep us out of it.
It stands to
or whatever.
reason if there are aliens, there must be more than one kind.
Well, right, exactly, and so that's
Right.
what I wanted to talk about right now that I don't think we talked about in the last episode. But you know, most people look at dudes who believe in aliens and go, "You're the dumbass." But to me, it is 100% the opposite. It is 100% the opposite because here's things that we know. We know that we live in a Milky Way and we're these people down here and this galaxy is huge. And we also know that there are quadrillions of other of those galaxies. And even if you are someone who is a creationist, even if you are someone who is just like, how do you explain why all that other space is there and why we would be the only ones?
Well, now, first of all, I agree with you. Secondly, you'd have to answer that question for me because, like, you know more about Jesus people than I do, because that's the main thing that I wonder about hardcore Christians and stuff is what you just said. How do you explain all that? And I'm assuming the answer is like the way they talk about dinosaur bones. The devil put them there. So
right.
I'm assuming they would say that all that is some sort of illusion or something.
Right.
But I don't know.
Can I refine your question, Trae, if you don't mind? Have you guys ever met a creationist in the South and stuff? Is that a thing? Because I've never actually spoken to a real
of
creationist.
course,
in my
I
life.
know plenty of people who truly believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Like, they have to believe that. Matter of fact, if you are a true Christian, you almost can't not believe that. Like, that is a huge part of your belief is that that God created the Earth 6,000 years ago, and then 2023 years ago, Jesus happened, right? And
that was a big deal.
And it was a seminal, I would say, huge deal. Split a whole goddamn calendar.
No actual semen involved.
But like in my mind, I always want to say to these people, I go, well, okay, let's say that you're right. Just because you're right doesn't mean that there's not other shit. Like, Jesus could 100% be real, and he could just be some fucking alien overlord that came to this earth and was just like, yo, I'm the dude. I was born of a virgin. Look at me walking on water because he's got fucking web feet and shit. You know what I mean? And then but you can believe that and then also think that 300,000 light years away, there is another person just like Jesus.
A different God.
A different God.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I always thought that
you can
too.
believe
it's like,
both.
You can fully believe in a God for this planet. That doesn't like negate the possibility of some God in another galaxy doing the same shit. Of course, I don't think
believe in
that's
either.
happening. But I'm
Right.
saying like they're not mutually exclusive.
Honestly,
like, you
all
could
of
make
this,
you can make it work.
Well, it's crazy because
but they can't though, because part of their whole thing, they're monotheistic.
omnipotence and they control the entire galaxy.
There can't be more than one God, like,
Right.
for them.
But
so
honestly,
that ruins it all.
But honestly, though, like all of this actually takes me back to my childhood. And sincerely makes me believe in God more. Not believe in an actual God, but believe in what people say is God. Because if we're looking at all this and going like, we're a zoo species where there's this just like blockade over us and there's this like alien overlord that's like observing us and controlling us, I go, yeah, that's what anyone would consider God. That's what God is. Right? So someone can be both wrong and right at the same time. Someone could say the phrase, if you don't believe in Jesus, you'll burn in hell. And that's wrong because that's insane and that's stupid. But at the same time, Jesus, whoever the fuck that was, this guy who could walk on water and who could touch someone and heal their leprosy and that guy could exist. It's just that he's a fucking alien.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So like one thing does not negate the other. It's just I'm fucked up over this.
No, it's wild. No, this shit's wild. It's the stoner shit. So there's two I'm lumping a couple together, but there's two like categories of explanations left for the idea that they do exist, but we haven't heard from them. One of them is like we are conceptualizing the whole thing incorrectly. Our brains are not capable of perceiving things the way they really are. Maybe there's all this evidence of alien life out there, but we can't perceive it because of whatever, some of our physiology or however it goes. And the analogy is like, imagine somewhere in this country, we're building a new 8-lane superhighway, right? And there's an anthill right underneath it.
Where the anthill?
The anthill, they don't know what that, like, they have no concept of what that is. They can't perceive, they don't know anything about the superhighway. Maybe we're the ants in the anthill, right? So that's one. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is, because I think this is the freakiest one, is they call it the dark forest theory, which is the idea that the reason the sky is silent, the reason that we don't hear anything from anybody else, is because all of the other intelligent species out there know better than to make any noise, because there's one intelligent super predator species, or just a number of predatory species out there that make it their mission to eliminate any emerging intelligent civilizations because they could be a threat to them in the future. So there's other human-like civilizations out there that know better than to broadcast their shit out into the sky, but we're sitting over here yelling like, "Hey, is he out there? What's going on?" And they're gonna show up and fucking wipe us out because that's what they do. So the universe is silent for a very, very, very good reason. We are too stupid to understand it, so we're just yelling into the void, begging to be eradicated, basically. And that's the dark forest theory, and that's the end of the possible explanations, or at least, the main ones as I'm aware of.
Jesus fucking Christ. But like to end this episode, that actually makes a lot of sense, because that's where my brain kind of works, is like every time people are trying to like, let's go find the aliens, let's go reach out to the aliens, I'm like, have you ever seen alien movies? I think that maybe we need to shut the fuck up.
So I'm not always an optimist, but when it comes to aliens,
You're literally never.
I know, but when it comes to aliens, I'm a little bit optimistic, and here's why. I've always felt when it comes to aliens, because people infinitely smarter than me, like fucking Stephen Hawking and shit, have said, like, if aliens come to Earth, I think it'll be like when the Europeans came to America. How'd that go for the Native Americans? And that's the prevailing theory. But I've always thought that, like, alongside any technical and social evolution as a species, there would also be a philosophical evolution. Like, we used to just kill each other with knives over nothing. We used to put people in stocks on the fucking town square for fucking looking at a donkey the wrong way or whatever. And now we don't do that shit, because as we evolved technologically, we also evolved morally. Right. So I feel like it's very, very possible that any species that evolves to that level would also have evolved morally and philosophically past the point where they would eradicate a lesser species for
they would
no
make
fucking reason. Because, dude,
they'd come in and be like, y'all want to hit?
Dude, I would say the Sentinelese we were talking about earlier are a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If the Sentinelese had been discovered by the colonists, the colonialists, at the same time that America was discovered, we would have killed every fucking one of them.
Of course.
And we'd be growing sugarcane on that island right now. But they didn't get found then. Right. They got found later.
Once we decided you
shouldn't do that. So we don't do that to them now. So I don't know why we would just assume that aliens wouldn't be the same way. That if they did find us, they wouldn't treat us the way we treat the Sentinelese, because they're like, oh, they're primitive, they're dumb, they don't hit. We're not gonna we're not gonna
Sorry
fucking
to any Sentinelese that are listening to this.
We're not gonna fucking kill them all. Right. Like, I don't know why we just assume that they wouldn't be like that. I think it's exceedingly possible that that's how they look at it. But that's partially me just telling myself that so I don't live in fear of being eradicated by an alien laser beam. You know what I mean?
Well, thank y'all for listening to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. That's about as Rogan as we've ever got on here.
As we've ever got.
We didn't mention chimpanzees, though.
No, we didn't, but
those things will fuck you up, dude.
They will, bro. I mean,
they'll
rip
fucking
your fucking
dick off, dog.
Dude, they'll rip your fucking dick off, and they're the brain that they have in their head is smaller than you think would be in their head, but it's all fucking testosterone filled, bro. All right, we love y'all. Subscribe, listen to Clearing the Airs
right now,
after this.
But also subscribe, leave a 5-star review, download, tell your mom and them, share, all that internet stuff.
Call Warner Brothers and be like, these guys should have a movie. About this shit.
Happy New Year, motherfuckers.
Happy New Year, motherfuckers.
2023.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at Puttin' On Airs, Puttin' On Airs, Puttin' On Airs, Puttin' On Airs.
What's up, Airheads? How y'all doing? Once again, I'm Traeless. I'm so sorry. Trae is still in the holler, deep in the woods in Tennessee, doing the holiday thing with his family. I hope y'all have had a wonderful holiday season. As you're hearing this right now, we're getting ready for New Year's. It's about to be a whole brand new year, and I want to tell y'all how thankful we are at Puttin' On Airs on behalf of me and on behalf of producer Russ and Trae. Y'all made this year so awesome. The show was more successful than even we thought it was going to be, and here's to an even better 2023. I would love to sing Auld Lang Syne right now, but my throat kind of hurts. So anyways, just wanted to pop on here to say that. Thank y'all for liking, downloading, subscribing, telling all your friends, all that good stuff. And I hope you just enjoyed this episode, which was on New Year's Eve and the Fermi Paradox, I do believe. So we appreciate y'all sticking with us, even though the past couple weeks there's been some different stuff because of people's travel schedules and whatnot. And I don't know if it's going to be next week, but at least within the next 2 weeks, we'll be back to normal. Trae will be back here with me. But hey, it's your boy, The Cho. I'm going to hold it down. Let's get to some emails. This is subject line, The Three Guys. Yuns. I'd never been to a comedy show until last night. For some context, this was sent to us right after our Nashville show. I'd never been to a comedy show until last night, as my brother and I stood in line with an alarming amount of geriatric folks. Did we come to the right place? I really wish Trae was here right now, because he would laugh so hard at that, because we always joke about it. It's just true. For some reason, we have a lot of older fans. I don't know why, but I love it because older fans have a lot of money. We opined about what exactly the Airhead lords might be like in person. There's this weird thing that happens, at least to me, where famous people inevitably end up being taller, shorter, fatter, or skinnier on the street than they appear through the screen. I'm happy to report that y'all are respectively both equally as buttery and gangly as expected. It checks out that Trae is unequivocally the svelte, honky-tonk rhetorician. Is that what rhetorician of a generation? Even if I was concerned at times that he was going to melon scoop out some crowd mammal's eyeballs with those minute bowl fingers. Turns out Corey really is the guy you secretly wish at every party you attend, because deep down you know the program must not be worth a damn if he ain't there. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. When I saw the sweatpants, I immediately knew you were the real deal. Reminds me of the time I accidentally invited a hooker into the condo to funnel a beer, and she robbed us and left her crack pipe behind. Authentic. Thank you very much. That's the aura I try to give off. The security guard outside chatted us up while we waited to go in. Nice guy. Who are y'all here to see tonight? As he walks towards the door to look at the flyer. Oh, the Three Guys. If y'all wonder whether y'all have made it or not, just consider the security guy who saw your faces on a poster only knew that you were three men and couldn't be bothered to read the names that followed. Yeah, that checks out. Anyway, the show was great. We did not come prepared for a 6'3" brown man to tell us the best 9/11 joke we ever heard, but here we are. That's our buddy Tushar, for those of you that don't know, the Indian outlaw. I don't know if there's a German word for being in a place while feeling that everyone else in the world ought to be jealous that you were there, but there should be. Keep putting on airs, even if y'all's britches ain't quite that big yet. Merry Christmas. Nathan from Kentucky. Well, thank you, Nathan. That did my heart good to read that, and I'll have to pass that along to our buddy Tushar. Here we go. Next, subject line. Y'all finna talk about plastic surgery? Hey there, Trae, your 2016 porch rant about the North Carolina transgender bathroom bill hit for me so hard that I've been following y'all ever since the days of recording the Well-Read podcast in the car between shows. I do not miss that. If this isn't already on the POA schedule, I would love to suggest the topic of plastic surgery for the Venn diagram section. That's great. I might have to make a note of that and send it to Trae. While Dolly is the queen and prime example of the intersection of fancy and trash when it comes to plastic surgery, I believe y'all could have some fun digging into why people spend their money on plastic surgery and not. I don't know, rent or orthodontia? What? I need Trae here when y'all say big words. Let me read this again. I believe y'all could have some fun digging into why people spend their money on plastic surgery and not, I don't know, rent or orthodontia. Okay, all right. They should spend the money instead on their teeth. I get it. I'm such an idiot. Also, which plastic surgery is trash and which is classy? For example, I'm from rural-ass Oregon, and my aunties stay talking about finally marrying a man who can afford to buy them new titties. They're in their late 50s now, but have not given up hope. My stepmama is the only success story, having married my dad because he drunkenly told her he was a lawyer. Joke's on her, he's a poor-ass DA. What's up, Drew? District Attorney. Sorry, wrong podcast. But he did buy her the biggest new titties money can buy on a credit card, and then immediately got her pregnant, so she had to have the implants removed to breastfeed. Incredible use of time and money. No notes. It's a good thing they didn't repo them titties too. All in all, there seems to be a divide between tasteful and trashy plastic surgery. Like Botox and lip fillers are fairly routine for many rich ladies, but buying a big fat ass like Cardi B is trashy. I don't know. Y'all have fun with it. Maybe Google botched lip fillers while you're at it because it's hilarious. Thanks for feeding my trash soul every week, Sam. Man, it's going to be hard to beat these two back-to-back emails, which, by the way, I didn't even curate. I decided I'm just going to read the top 3 most recent ones that we got. And so far, y'all are killing it. Let's get to one more. I don't want to read all of these without Trae because there's so many that I want him to hear, and the only way that he's going to hear it is if I read them directly to him. So we're going to save a couple more for hopefully next week. Subject line, comments about collecting shit. Hi guys, this last episode was great. Who hasn't sat in their basement all baked out and thinking about aliens and come out the other side an atheist? If we could only get the Bible thumpers to drop some acid, am I right? Yeah. You guys had me laughing so hard driving to work I almost drove off the road. Shrimp fountain? OMG. But the first reason for my email is to Corey about his first edition The Shining. A while back, I dated a guy who did collectibles like as a living, going to antique stores and thrift shops and flea markets and garage/estate sales and all that, looking for things. He did mostly pop culture stuff. Why do I have the feeling, by the way, that this is going to end with me mad? I don't know. I just have that feeling. Comic books, action figures, that kind of stuff. And he had the eye like Corey. Oh, look, it's an original Mega Swamp Thing figure from blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but a dog chewed on it. I learned a lot from him. The biggest laugh, oh, you were complimenting me, wonderful. The biggest laugh was when Trae kind of gave in about the book being so valuable and the maybe, because he's right about maybe. While, yes, that was a great find of a first edition Shining for $30, the thing with collectibles is that until you sell them, the value is all potential. Okay, that's true. But, oh, God, my wife is in the other room just like, I told you, motherfucker. Like a stone at the top of a hill where the energy is potential until you roll that thing downhill and slam it into something. A collectible doesn't have value until you actually sell it, so someone has to want it and want to pay you what you think it's worth. It might not be worth what you think. The market for various collectible heats up and cools down all the time. You see the womp womp moment in Antiques Roadshow all the time that something used to go for whatever, but now only for a lot less. So it might not be the investment you think it is. Yes, it is. Fuck you and fuck everyone listening to this. First off, you keep talking about if you get it signed, it'll be worth so much more when he dies. But it's not signed, is it? Go get that thing signed, man. Stephen King is getting old and could kick it any day. Then you're shit out of luck. Get that book signed. He's on Twitter. Seems like a cool dude with his fans. You're a little famous. He's big famous. He'd nerd out about your first edition and probably at least tell you where to meet up. Get it done while you can. Plus, you'd get to meet him, and that definitely would hit. Then, assuming it's signed, other things make a difference in collectibles. What kind of condition is your book in? It's in good condition. Pristine? Good? Kind of good? I'd say good. You see all the time with comic books and things that the teeny tiniest flaw or indication or wear or whatever decreases the value immensely. Is yours in good shape? Yes. Are you keeping it in good shape, in protective packaging, handling with gloves, all that BS? If not, you're going to get that $40,000 out. You're not going to get that $40,000 out of it. After he dies, yeah, it'll be more valuable, but you'll have to find the person who wants to pay the money for it. You might only get a couple hundred out of it, in which case keeping it for yourself might have more value to you. I'm a huge SK fan and would love that thing. Point is, Trae's right. I fucking hate everybody. I don't. I love y'all, but Jesus. Point is, Trae's right. It's a cool thing to have, but stuff like that, you can't rely on to bring you money. You have money and aren't looking at that to buy a car or fund your kids' college or anything, but for regular people, it'd be a better financial action to sell it for the $150 and put that in the bank. It may only earn 2% interest or whatever, but you know it's there compounding and not going to get burned up in a fire or otherwise destroyed. Even so, if I had that, I'd hang on to it just to have it. Love you guys. Thank you for the laughs and interesting things to talk about. They're a good distraction from the shit show that is the world today. Happy holidays, Sally Black, Michigan. Okay, Sally. First off, fuck you. I'm just kidding. I get it. Sure, I get, but no matter what, in my opinion, If I spent like $200 or $300 on it, I would see the point. But there's no goddamn way, in my opinion, that it's ever going to be worth less than $30, which means good decision on my behalf. My wife is walking by just going like, I told this motherfucker not to buy that goddamn book. Anyways, we appreciate y'all. Remember, you can send us messages at puttingonairs@gmail.com. I'm sorry to cut this short, but as y'all have probably noticed as I'm talking, I can't breathe through my nose. My allergies are killing me. I sound like a lunatic, and I'm having trouble catching my breath. So we'll get out of here. Email us at puttingonairs@gmail.com. Thank you so much for sharing this podcast with your friends, for leaving us a 5-star review. It takes you 2 seconds, but it really, really helps us a lot. And if you're only listening to this but want to see the show, remember you can go to watchpoa.com for bonus stuff from Trae. Go to patreon.com/Trae Crowder. Also, go to TraeCrowder.com to see Trae on the road. I'll be with him on a couple of those dates. I think it has an asterisk by it on his website. And also for bonus stuff from me, you can go to parttimefunnyman.com. That is my Substack. It costs $5 a month. But if you cannot afford, and you get bonus podcasts, bonus like essays, I write poetry over there, a lot of bonus cool stuff, rants, like oftentimes daily rants that I do out in the park. I got my sweet little mobile podcast studio set up. It's $5 a month over at parttimefunnyman.com. But if you cannot afford it, just email buttercreamcorey@gmail.com and I'll take care of you. No questions asked. We will see y'all next week, and stay fancy, motherfuckers. Skew.